Hey guys, how are you? How are you? How are you? Welcome to Nonprofit Nuggets with Jen, um, or with Jennifer Yarborough. I really want to greet you, and I'm super excited that you all are enjoying the podcast and getting so much value out of it. I am so encouraged. People have reached out and really shared how much they have learned from the podcast, and so I'm inspired to do more of them. And if at any point there is a particular topic around your nonprofit startup, around fundraising or grant writing or board development, strategic planning, executive leadership that you would like for me to cover, then just feel free to let me know, and I'll be sure to include that in the one of the upcoming lineups. Okay, so again, thank you for joining in to Nonprofit Nuggets with Jennifer Yarborough. I really appreciate you. Today, we're going to talk about fundraising in the midst of COVID. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with nonprofit leaders who are talking about COVID and talking about how difficult it has been. Just really remaining confident and focused around raising relationships, deepening relationships, identifying new individuals in the community that may be or want to be connected with your organization. And so I've just daily been having to dispel the myth that your organization has to or should expect to suffer financially, specifically during this time of COVID. So I want to give you guys some tips in the areas of fundraising. So who am I to talk about this? You guys who have been following me for a while, you know that I've been fundraising and a professional fundraiser for over 30 years, actually closer to 40 years. And so I've raised money during 9/11. I've raised money during economic downturn back in 2005, 6, and 7, raised money for Katrina, raised money for the tsunami, raised money for other crisis in the area of crisis. And so COVID is very much like a crisis. It's an episode, right? It's an episode. And while we don't know how long any crisis will land or last, what we do know are the keys and the strategies and the steps to fundraising remain the same. Okay, remain the same. And in fact, it has been reported that while some organizations are struggling, many are not. Many are not. And let's talk about why those are struggling. The ones that are struggling really are struggling because, one, they did not have a strategic plan. They did not have a strategic plan. Number two, they were not and are not able to articulate impact. And number three, the leader of the organization does not know how to pivot or navigate during these times to get, again, to deepen relationships, identify new relationships, and really articulate the case for support. I can tell you that nonprofit organizations provide a service that government cannot provide, that businesses cannot provide. And in fact, your organizations are needed now more than ever. So what I know to be true, and having done this work now for almost 40 years, is that during good times and in bad, organizations needs to raise money. All right. Organizations need to raise money. And in raising those monies, it is to deliver your program, maintain or grow the impact that you are doing or having within your community, and being able to sustain during these times. All right. The organizations that are stuck, well-meaning, but are fearful. The board is fearful, the staff is built fearful, the executive leader is fearful, and you're tied, your hands are tied in that fear, lack of courage, lack of knowledge, lack of knowing what to do to pivot, right? And so I want to talk to you today about what that looks like as it relates to taking this crisis and really using it as an opportunity to highlight, to spotlight, to really bring to awareness the value of your organizations. And truth be told, this is something that should have been going on and should continue to go on before COVID and then well after, all right? What we know about fundraising is that it takes creativity. You got to be creative, you got to be brave, you got to be confident, you got to be sure about what? Your impact. 98% of your donors give because of impact. 98% of your donors give because of impact. All right. 98% of your donors give because of impact. And so right now, it is important that you all go full on, hard in the paint, as they would say, to articulate that impact. If you were on social media 3 times a week, now you want to be on social media 30 times or 3 times that amount, okay, per week. You want to be top of mind. You want to be clear in your messaging that your mission matters most. All right. You want to make sure that during this time you are focusing on your mission. You are focusing on the change and the transition and the transformation that your organization has caused, not just during COVID, but from the beginning of the year. That your plans, even towards the end of this year, are to continue to provide the services that are needed, that now more than ever, the needs for your organization is relevant, is important, is timely, and you are highlighting that. All right. So the one thing that I want you guys to focus on during this time is really focusing on your mission. People care about what your organizations are doing, but they don't know unless you tell them. All right. So don't waste time on pussyfooting around. I want you all to go hard. I want you guys to be strategic and telling and sharing your mission story in several different ways. You know, talk about it in a newsletter, talk about it through pictures, talking about it through personal testimonies, tying it into the change that is happening in your community as it relates to your organization. All right. The second thing is that strong relationships are always an ace. Strong relationships are always the ace, okay? Fundraising is all about relationships. People ask me all the time, Jen, I need new donors. Jen, how do I find new donors? Jen, where do I find new donors? Donors are the people who know about your organization, who care about the work that you do, and want to be involved, all right? Those are who your donors are. Your donors are people who know about your organization, care about your organization, and want to be involved. I call it the 3 C's: connection, concern, capacity. Connection, concern, capacity. So before they become donors, they're first connected, and then you all are sharing the mutual concern that you all share regarding the people that you serve, the change that's happening, the improvement within the community, right? So being able to right now deepen the relationships with those individuals who have supported you in the past, thanking them, being more intentional in your donor touches, letting them know how and what has transformed since they've been giving, right? Over this year, from January to date, how many individuals have you served? How many families have you served? And the need continues even the more now. And their support has enabled you, joining with you, to really be able to meet the needs of people today and yesterday. And it is important that your work continues and you value that relationship, all right? So really deepening those relationships and then looking for opportunities and ways to get in front of other people to build relationships. How do you build a relationship? You all have commonality. That's the connection, right? So listening, not just telling the donor your story, but listening for the donor story. Let me say that again. Not just there to tell the donor your story, but listening for the donor story. Finding out what the donor knows about your organization. What do they feel about the need that you're meeting? And how could or do they see themselves involved, right? So strengthening those relationships, identifying those prospective donors that you could connect to, and then the conversation about capacity is natural, because once the connection is made and once you identify that you both care about the same thing, then they're asking you, what can I do to help? They're asking you, what can they do to be involved? All right. So that's how you really start getting in front of new people right now during this time, especially during this time. Okay. Really turning up the gas as it relates to identifying and prospecting and really solidifying your presence in front of people, making sure that you're in front of them, being in front of them through social media, being in front of them on the phone calls, being in front of them by attending various Zooms of meetings that are going on in your community and being a part of that, starting and initiating conversations with people in your community so that you can bring awareness about who you are. The next thing is to really start telling good stories. All right. Every day, tell a story. Tell a story of a person who's come through your organization. Tell a story of a person, how they came in and how they left, right? What did they look like when they came in? And as a result of your organization, what did they look like when they leave? Speak to someone who was connected to a person who was in your program and how they've seen the transformation. Tell the story about what is being saved, right? What is the cost savings of your organization in your community? I'm in the middle of writing a grant for a client, and we were talking about a youth program. It was a teen girl program. And we were sharing how a girl who is educated about her body, her self-esteem, self-awareness, that if in fact she does not get pregnant as a teenager, it saves the state almost $6,000. It saves the state $6,000. For every teen pregnancy, there is some cost associated with the state through services. That's about $6,000. So she's looking to reach 100 girls, 1,000 girls. And what's that cost saving to the state, right? That's a value. And so sharing those stories through articles, sharing those stories through other forms of messaging, and even your own personal story, or even a story of someone on your board. So really getting your story out in front of new people, and that there's those connections, that someone that knows you knows someone else. And so these stories, these clear, compelling, articulate stories are ways for your organization to share how critically important you are. All right. Talk about how you are making a difference, how your organization is positioned, how your organization has possibly had to restructure during the COVID, but it is so that you can be streamlined and more focused and more clear about really meeting the current needs of your community in a more effective and efficient way. Don't lean on COVID as if that's the crutch. No, use COVID as the driving force of why it is that your organization is really important right now. This is what I know, y'all. What I know is that people are consistent. People are consistent. All right. And again, having raised money through 9/11, having raised money in New York during 9/11, and having to maintain an organization on a national and international level means that you've got to rely on you be consistent and your donors are consistent. You be consistent, your donors will be consistent. All right. So new donors are coming into the fold, and you want to be consistent in acknowledging them, thanking them, engaging them, learning what and why it is that they gave, finding out from them what have they learned, or what would they like to know more about your organization. Really being consistent and wanting to build a relationship, a lasting relationship, okay? A lasting relationship. And so these individuals who are consistent in their knowing about what you do are then going to be able to become evangelists for your organization, right? So they're not just people who give checks, but as you deepen those relationships, as you really invest in sharing and sharing stories, sharing photos, sharing information, sharing ways that they can connect, then they become your evangelists. You're giving them the tools, the knowledge, the information about your organization that they can take and share with their peers, right? So not only do you want to, they don't want to be seen as a checkbook, and nor do you just want that. The long-term value of the donor is much more than that one-time check. Let me say that again. The long-term value of that donor who becomes a regular donor, a monthly donor, they are the ones who adopt certain areas within your program, that beyond that first check, the long-term life of that donor is much more valuable. So you really want to use that as incentive to deepen that relationship, all right? And again, people are consistent. People are consistent. And I can tell you that during downturn, during times of crisis, during times of emergency, people give. I was an executive director of the American Red Cross. So I understand episodic and disaster fundraising. That's my thing, right? I can raise money in a disaster. And really being able to be consistent, to be a light. And now there are so many ways that you guys can do this, all right? And so just again, being consistent, consistency, sharing your relevance, consistency in sharing your impact. Again, 98% of your donors give because of impact. 98% of your donors give because of impact. All right. Understanding also that personal asks, personal face-to-face asks, always yield larger gifts. All right. Face-to-face asks always yield larger gifts. Now you may be saying, well, right now, Jen, we can't meet with people because of COVID. I want you all to be creative. I want you all to be innovative, and I want you all to take a real assessment of your ability to use the tools of technology and your influence to have these conversations. Everything doesn't have to happen via email. Everything does not have to happen via DM, right? But the personal solicitation, that face-to-face ask, that phone call asks, always gets a better, larger gift, okay? So being very careful that today you might be able to meet with them virtually, but when this is all over, you're building a relationship now so that you then can get that face-to-face meeting, that then, you know, they will then trust you with the Zoom or with the virtual meetings, that when this is all over, now you're building a relationship that you can have those face-to-face meetings once this is all gone away. All right. The next thing is really talking about your stewardship. Talking about how your organization has grown, how your organization has transformed, how your organization has touched and impacted more lives as a result of your stewardship, taking the resources that are coming into the organization to ensure that the impactful work that you all have been missioned and commissioned to do is happening. So talking about your stewardship, your good stewardship is like a hallmark, all right? It's a hallmark, and it really shows that you have support, right? Donors who are thanked on a regular basis, donors who are thanked on a regular basis in a meaningful way are more likely to give in the future. So what's a meaningful way? Letting them know what their gift did, right? So if a gift of $50 was able to feed 5 people or 10 people, then let them know, because of your generous gift of $50, our organization was able to provide food and supplies to 10 individuals who otherwise would have gone to bed hungry tonight or would not have been able to feed their family. And because of your support, because of your partnership, because of your generosity, this individual or these 5 or 10 people, along with hundreds or thousands of others, are able to now sleep well, feed their family, and have a hope that their prayers have been answered for today, all right, or for this week. Really just making that connection and letting them know that you are a good steward of their resources. Remember, good stewardship is a hallmark, all right? Monthly giving signals loyal support. So you want to take those individuals who have given before, possibly, you know, the people who are the best candidates for monthly donors are those people who have given 3 times within 6 months. All right. If they've given 3 times within 6 months, then these are people who are ideal candidates for the monthly giving program. All right. So you want to make sure that you are, that you have a system and a plan, that your board is involved with this, and that you are prepared to invite them to be a part of, you know, the foundation and the legacy of the organization, creating a monthly club if that's something that you need to do. But there's lots of ways to go about that. What I want you to focus on is really cultivating and segmenting your donor file and identifying those individuals who are giving on a regular basis and how you can invite them to be a part of a giving giving on a deeper level, and then sharing with them the benefits. What are the benefits of them becoming a monthly donor? Okay. And there's all kinds of benefits that you could, put them on a monthly newsletter, or send them certain information that's relevant that no one else is getting, or invite them to certain virtual coffees or meetings with the board president, and with you, the executive director. Okay. So there's no one way to do that, but just be thoughtful and intentional. Okay. And just being sure that you're not being overbearing. I know a lot of people think, I'm afraid to ask donors because they're going through a hard time themselves. When in fact, many people are feeling overwhelmed and they want to help, right? They're feeling like there's so much going on and I don't know what to do. So you inviting them to be a part of something that is life-changing, life-transforming, that's positive, they jump on that. All right. So asking is not a burden. Asking is not a burden. Okay. In fact, it is a bright light. You really want to know that your donors feel good giving to organizations that they care about. They feel good. You know what it's like? It's like you feel good when you go shopping and you find a really good deal, right? You didn't mind spending that money, even if it was something that you had not planned on purchasing. So with your organizations, donors feel money is attached to emotion. Money is attached to emotion. So people who give to your organization emotionally, they feel as if they are making a difference. They feel as if they are doing something that is of value. Okay. So I want you to get out of your head that they don't want to be bothered or that you are asking them too much. That is not true. All right. Now you want to reach out to your donors on a regular basis, but you don't want every touch or every contact to be about money. Right? So they may give you one gift. The next touch is a thank you. The one after that is a story or a testimony. The next one after that is possibly to let them know that something great is coming up, right? And then an ask. So it's an ask, and then it's 3 contacts or 2 contacts, and then the next ask. All right. That way they're not feeling as if you're only contacting them or only reaching out to them because of money. That's not the case, right? But you are letting them know what their money is doing. You are being that good steward and reporting to them what it is that you all are doing during this time. Okay. You are now more important and needed more than ever. All right. Being able to take the wheel as the leader, being able to really fulfill your strategic plan. Now, you might have to pivot. You may have to change the way you deliver your programs and services, but the value and the impact of your program, the mission of your organization is needed now more than ever. All right. So I just wanted to come on and to encourage you. Don't back up. In fact, run forward. Don't back up. In fact, run forward. Those organizations that are backing up and fearful for themselves, for their organization, are suffering. But those that say our organization is valuable, our organization is important and relevant today, our organization is able to pivot and to deliver our program and still meet the needs of your community, you need to be seen because people are looking for you. Businesses are looking for you. Corporations are looking for you. All right. The community is looking for you. Again, we provide services that the government cannot fund. We provide services that businesses cannot do. And now more than ever, you are needed, necessary, and essential. All right. During this time of COVID, you can meet your budget. During this time of COVID, you can get the funding that you need. During this time of COVID, you can, in fact, achieve your financial goals within your program with focus, with strategy, with communication, with the right relationships, the right leadership, and the articulation of impact. Guys, I'm not telling you what I heard. I'm telling you what I know. I'm not telling you what I heard. I'm telling you what I know. All right. And I am here to give you resource, to give you information, and to help you if that would be of benefit to you. My team and I, we know that for many of you, just starting this out it's difficult, particularly if you've never done it before. So if you would like to have a conversation about how my team and I can help you, how my team and I can support your work or give you direction and strategy on how to move quickly, on how to take advantage and leverage this time and opportunity to raise money, then just feel free to reach out. Visit my website at www.jdyarbrough.com, www.jd.yarbrough.com. Get on my calendar and let's have a conversation about where you want to be, how we can get you there quickly, and you all really take advantage of this time and know again that you are essential, your organization is essential, and your impact today is needed now more than ever. All right, guys, I hope that this was helpful. I would appreciate all of your comments and shares. Thank you so much again for joining this episode of Nonprofit Nuggets with Jennifer Yarbrough. And I'll be back in the next podcast to talk about something that is important and relevant and fun and to help you take your organization to the next level. You guys have an amazing rest of your day, and we'll talk soon. Blessings.